Hi, thank you for watching Dig Into China. I'm Dong Xiong. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. I want to share with you a piece of news that has created quite a stir in the international community, a rather sensational development. The former Japanese ambassador to China, Hideo Tarumi, has recently published the second part of his memoir. In his latest article, he unexpectedly unveiled some significant revelations about Xi Jinping. Having had several close encounters with Xi Jinping, Tarumi drew upon his personal experiences to disclose information about the Chinese leader. This revelation has sparked considerable attention in public discourse. In his article, Hideo Tarumi highlights that Deng Xiaoping's approach focused on high economic development has reached its limits. Faced with the decision to either continue Deng Xiaoping's economic development path or adopt Mao Zedong's authoritarian route, Xi Jinping has chosen the latter. Consequently, Xi Jinping prioritizes national security. Despite the inconsistency between his vigorously promoted national security policy and the Chinese economic model, Xi Jinping remains steadfast in its implementation, leaving foreign ambassadors perplexed. The article continues to narrate that Hideo Tarumi's initial encounter with Xi Jinping took place in 2009, leaving him with the impression of Xi Jinping being remarkably humble. According to the account, during Xi Jinping's visit to Japan as the Vice President of China, he expressed a wish to meet the Japanese Emperor. Hideo Tarumi, serving as the head of Chinese affairs at the time, was tasked with coordinating Xi Jinping's participation in a dinner at the Prime Minister's residence. During the dinner, Xi Jinping took the time to personally greet each of the 70 guests. Hideo Tarumi guided him through the tables, and despite the event running slightly over time, Xi Jinping remained extraordinarily courteous and patient, without displaying any hint of displeasure. Therefore, at the time, Hideo Tarumi perceived Xi Jinping as remarkably modest, displaying both humility and generosity. However, 6 years later, in 2015, Hideo Tarumi had a second close encounter with Xi Jinping when he accompanied the prominent Secretary General of the ruling party, Toshihiro Nikkei, on a visit to China with a personal letter from former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He noted that by 2015, Xi Jinping had transformed into a complete different person, unrecognizable. The security measures around Xi Jinping had intensified significantly, with numerous bodyguards providing protection. The security precautions were notably higher compared to the previous president Hu Jintao, making it challenging to have close interaction with him. Upon assuming the role of Japan's ambassador to China in 2020, Hideo Tarumi noted that the situation became even more pronounced. He indicated that while the political structure of the Chinese Communist Party remains unchanged, there has been a considerable shift in practical terms. Formerly operating under a one-party authoritarian system, it can now be characterized as a system dominated by Xi Jinping's personal rule. In this context, the security measures around Mr. Xi Jinping have tightened significantly. Years before taking office, Tarumi was already aware that the members of the Politburo Standing Committee were required to submit reports to the General Secretary. The use of special trains or planes by committee members also underwent strict scrutiny by the General Secretary's office. In essence, members of the Politburo Standing Committee are seen as subordinates to Xi Jinping. Hideo Tarumi pointed out that Deng Xiaoping's highly economic development-oriented path has reached its limits. Currently, aside from issues of corruption, China is facing a severe unemployment rate. Xi Jinping is at a crossroads with two choices: either to continue Deng Xiaoping's path of rapid economic growth or to revert to Mao Zedong's authoritarian approach. In the end, Xi Jinping's actions have confirmed his choice of the latter. preserving the Chinese Communist Party's legitimacy through a highly centralized power structure. Here are my takeaways. To begin with, Hideo Tarumi is an acknowledged China expert in Japan, possessing an in-depth understanding of Chinese politics and a close familiarity with leaders of the CCP. With his substantial experience managing Japan-China relations in the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he has engaged with multiple CCP general secretaries. Drawing from his extensive observations, he reaches a decisive conclusion. Whereas China formerly adhered to a one-party authoritarian structure, it has now evolved into Xi Jinping's singular authoritarian regime. This assessment stands out as one of the most incisive analyses in international discussions on China's current political landscape, suggesting that Xi Jinping is steering towards a form of dictatorship, possibly even a lifelong rule. While many contend that Xi Jinping's authoritarianism remains within the CCP framework, Hideo Tarumi takes it a step further, asserting that Xi Jinping has essentially redefined the CCP's one-party dominance into a personalized dictatorship. I completely agree with this perspective. If we examine the development post the 20th National Congress of the CCP, a subtle transformation in the relationship between Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party becomes apparent. Prior to the 20th Congress, Xi Jinping actively utilized the platform of the CCP. However, after the 20th Congress, all key positions in the CCP were filled with his trusted allies. With absolute control over the CCP, he no longer prioritized the party as a significant platform. Instead, he sees the country as his own, positioning himself at the core of the nation's management structure. The third plenum of Central Committee occupies a distinctive position within the Chinese Communist Party. And if Xi Jinping decides not to convene it, they won't, without providing any specific reasons. It's noteworthy that despite the pandemic, meetings of the Central Committee continued without interruption. However, for some undisclosed reason, the third plenum remains unheld. Consequently, I view Tarumi's conclusion as a noteworthy development in comprehending Xi Jinping and exploring issues within China. While many might hesitate to express certain thoughts, Tarumi's conclusion holds substantial meaning. Xi Jinping has essentially substituted one-party rule with personal dictatorship. Secondly, in this article, Hideo Tarumi provided detailed insights into how Xi Jinping exercises control over the members of the Politburo Standing Committee, revealing intriguing information. This disclosure is likely attributed to Japan's intelligence system, given Tarumi's role as ambassador in an embassy with intelligence gathering functions. It marks the first time we have gained public insight through the media into Xi Jinping's methods of managing these key committee members. Alongside the annual requirement for committee members to submit the reports, Tarumi reveals that their use of special trains or planes undergoes rigorous scrutiny by the General Secretary's office. Every detail, from the type of transportation used, the timing and the destination of travel, the conversations during the journey, to the presence of other individuals in the vehicle, is meticulously monitored under Xi Jinping's oversight. Xi Jinping demonstrates remarkable specificity and strictness in monitoring those in his inner circle. While traditionally such responsibilities might be handled by the central office or related protocol departments, Xi Jinping personally takes charge, dedicating substantial effort to these control measures. Thirdly, according to Hideo Tarumi, Xi Jinping is faced with two potential paths, either following Deng Xiaoping's route of rapid economic development or embracing Mao Zedong's approach of dictatorship. Tarumi's conclusion based on Xi Jinping's current actions is that he is more inclined towards Mao Zedong's authoritarian path. However, I hold a somewhat different perspective on this conclusion. Xi Jinping is not merely mimicking Deng Xiaoping or Mao Zedong. He brings his own unique qualities to the leadership. These distinct aspects are rooted in his background and long-standing values. In contrast to the first-generation CCP leaders like Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping, Xi Jinping as a princeling and a second-generation Red may not fully share the same ideals and thoughts. Particularly noteworthy is the perception that Xi Jinping possesses a remarkable ability to adapt. Unlike Mao Zedong, who was known for his unwavering commitment to certain theories and paths, Mao Zedong was characterized by his firmness in sticking to his beliefs. In contrast, Xi Jinping is often seen as more flexible, capable of adjusting his approach without hesitation or embarrassment. This adaptability, often described as being comfortable with adjusting, implies a lack of inhibitions. Consequently, it is improbable for him to revert to the rigid approach of Mao Zedong, and he lacks the capacity to achieve the same level of authority as Mao. For example, his publicized act of eating a bun to appear relatable has been the subject of ridicule for over a decade. In my perspective, Xi Jinping inherits a form of absolute authority, whether influenced by Mao Zedong or Deng Xiaoping. Both leaders wield unquestionable authority, and even after Deng Xiaoping's retirement, he retained significant influence. His Southern tour statement, asserting that those opposing reform would be ousted, showcased his authoritarian stance. While Deng Xiaoping employed authoritarianism to drive economic reforms, Mao Zedong's authoritarianism was geared more towards pursuing an idealized form of politics. Xi Jinping's approach goes beyond a simple preference for either Deng Xiaoping or Mao Zedong. He actively studies and incorporates various authoritarian and dictatorial governance styles present within the CCP. Combining these with his personal traits as a princeling second-generation official and a Red descendant, marked by a high-handed approach and audacious actions, Xi Jinping can aptly be described as embodying a rogue version of dictatorship. This version is distinct from the spiritual dictatorships of figures like Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi or Mao Zedong. Xi Jinping does not rigidly adhere to ideologies but prioritizes power. When his authority is challenged, he can exhibit a ruthlessness akin to historical figures, or alternatively project an adaptable and self-deprecating demeanor, showcasing a kind of rogue dictatorship. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.